The land is shaking again, and everyone feels it. Deals that once looked solid are starting to crack. And the people who thought they were in control are realizing they may have pushed too far. In this moment, when the sun hits the Texas ground just right, you can almost sense something big coming. Something that will turn friends into rivals and rivals into threats. Episode 4 isn't just another step in the story. It's the moment everything begins to fall apart. The tension in the oil fields grows heavier with each passing hour. Rumors drift through the small towns, carried by workers who whisper about trouble no one can fully explain. People sense that something is wrong. Something brewing deep beneath the surface, both under the ground and inside the hearts of the people who depend on it. The land that once felt predictable is now full of uncertainty. The old deals, the quiet promises, the secret handshakes, everything feels shaky. Like it could collapse with one wrong move. And everyone knows that when the land starts changing, the power shifts with it. Across the region, conversations turn sharp. Those who built their lives on trust now look over their shoulders, wondering who is still loyal. Everyone seems to have their own version of the truth, their own agenda, their own hope of coming out on top when the dust finally settles. People who once shared the same tables now argue over boundaries, money, pride, and survival. Some think they can stay neutral, but neutrality is becoming a luxury that no one can afford. When pressure rises this fast, someone always breaks and the question hanging in the air is who it will be first. Trouble begins quietly, as it always does. A phone call not returned. A document missing from where it should be. A worker overhearing something that wasn't meant for his ears. Little moments that seem harmless at first, but together they form a pattern too obvious to ignore. The landmen feel it more than anyone. They live in the middle of every deal and every lie, forced to balance honesty and opportunity with a steady hand. But in episode 4, even the strongest hands start to shake. The deals they've worked so hard for now rest on thin lines that could snap at any moment. People who have worked the same soil for generations begin to question if they will still own it by the end of the week. Those who chase fortune begin to wonder if the cost will be too high. And through all of this, a quiet storm rises, one that no one sees clearly yet, but everyone feels. The pressure beneath the land mirrors the pressure inside the people living on it. Something big is coming, something that will demand answers they are not ready to give, and choices they never imagined they would have to make. The days grow hotter, not just in temperature, but in tension. People move differently now, with a stiffness in their shoulders and caution in their steps. A strange silence hangs over certain parts of the land, the kind that warns you something is about to happen. Workers who usually joke during long shifts barely speak, exchanging quick glances instead, as if trying to read each other's thoughts. The calm feels forced, stretched thin like a rope that is ready to snap. No one dares to say it out loud. But they know episode 4 is the kind of turning point that leaves no one untouched. The whispers about a major incident begin to spread, but the details are twisted every time someone repeats them. Some say a deal is falling apart in the worst way. Others believe someone in power has crossed a line, and if the truth gets out, everything could explode. There is talk of land surveys gone wrong, secret meetings in the middle of the night, trucks moving across private property without permission. Every new rumor feels heavier than the last, and soon the weight of uncertainty becomes too much for people to ignore. Trust is slipping away like water through open fingers in the middle of this growing storm. The landmen feel the pressure more than anyone. They stand between the people who own the land and the ones who want to take advantage of it. Every call they make, every word they speak, becomes a test of loyalty. Even the smallest mistake could ruin their name or cost someone their future. They try to hold themselves steady, but the ground beneath them no longer feels safe. Deals that look simple now hide layers of secrets. Promises made in confidence now come with conditions no one mentioned before. The tension builds so quietly that most people do not notice it until it is already too late. Families who once welcomed visitors with smiles now close their doors early, keeping their business to themselves. Farmers watch strangers' trucks drive by with narrowed eyes, wondering if someone is scouting their land without permission. Ranchers double-check their fences, not because of animals, but because of people. Everyone becomes protective, defensive, and suspicious. It doesn't matter if they are rich or broke, old or young, the fear reaches everyone. The Texas plains are wide and open, but at this moment, they feel tight and crowded, full of eyes watching and ears listening. Even the land itself seems to react. Some say they can feel vibrations at night, slight tremors beneath their boots. Others claim they hear distant rumbling, too soft to be thunder, but too strong to ignore. Whether it's real or imagined doesn't matter. Fear makes everything feel more intense. People talk about signs, strange shifts in the soil, unusual readings from equipment, animals acting restless. It all adds to the belief that something deep underground is tied to what is happening above it. The land carries secrets, and secrets don't stay buried forever. By now, no one can deny that a breaking point is coming. It moves like a shadow across the fields, slow at first, then faster as the truth grows harder to hide. Decisions that once felt simple now come with consequences that reach far beyond one person or one deal. And though no one knows exactly what episode 4 will unleash, they can feel it in the air, in the ground, and in the uneasy rhythm of their own heartbeat. The moment everyone has been trying to avoid is getting closer. And this time there will be no turning away. The pressure that has been building finally starts to show. In the lives of the people caught in the middle, behind every deal, every signature, every handshake, there are real people with real fears. Some try to hide it, pretending everything is under control, but their silence speaks louder than their words. Their days feel longer, their nights shorter, and every decision carries more weight than it should. The landman, the families, the workers, all of them feel something shifting inside them, as if they are being pushed toward choices they never wanted to face. A father who spent his entire life protecting his land now fears that signing one wrong document could cost him everything he has built. He walks the edges of his property each morning, studying the ground like he might find answers written in the soil. His children watch him from a distance, unsure what to say, worried that the strong man they grew up with is starting to crack under stress. He tries to reassure them, but the truth is that he no longer knows what tomorrow will bring. The weight of uncertainty rests on his shoulders like a burden that grows heavier each day. Meanwhile, the landmen wrestle with decisions that blur the line between right and wrong. They were trained to negotiate, to read people, to find a deal that benefits everyone. But now, even simple choices feel complicated. One moment they're defending a landowner. The next, they're questioning whether the company they represent is telling them the full story. They sense that something bigger is happening behind the scenes, something intentionally hidden from them. And the fear of being used, of becoming a tool in someone else's dangerous plan creeps in slowly, tightening around their conscience like a closing fist in the small communities surrounding the fields. Relationships begin to strain. Old friends avoid looking each other in the eye, knowing that one wrong word could expose secrets better left unsaid. Families gather at dinner tables but speak only in half-truths. Couples argue over things that never used to matter. A late-night phone call, a missed meeting, a strange truck parked on the road. The tension works its way into their personal lives, twisting their emotions until everything feels fragile. People start to question who they can trust, and whether the people closest to them are telling the whole truth. Even those who normally avoid conflict find themselves drawn into the chaos. A quiet worker who keeps to himself starts noticing unusual activity at his job site, equipment moved without explanation, documents swapped when no one is looking. He doesn't want to get involved, but every instinct tells him something is wrong. His fear grows every time he thinks about reporting it, because in a place where loyalty is everything, speaking up could make him a target. He lies awake at night, replaying the strange events in his mind, wondering if staying silent is safer or if silence will only make things worse. And then there are the outsiders. People who arrived in town recently, claiming to be part of new deals or expansions. Some are friendly, but their smiles feel practiced. Others avoid questions entirely. Their presence makes the locals uneasy, especially since these newcomers always seem to appear where trouble is rumored to be. Whether they bring opportunity or danger is impossible to tell. But their sudden arrival adds another layer of suspicion to an already tense landscape. Every person connected to the land feels the emotional pull tightening around them. Fear, hope, anger, and doubt blend together until nobody can separate one from the other. The closer episode draws, the more each character realizes that their choices will shape not only their future but the fate of the land itself. They stand at a crossroads, knowing they must soon decide whether to protect what they love, fight for what they want, or walk away before the storm finally hits. In this moment of rising conflict, every heartbeat becomes a reminder that something powerful and possibly destructive is coming for all of them. The storm that has been gathering finally begins to reveal its shape, not through thunder or rain, but through the actions of the people caught inside this growing web of tension. The quiet unease that once settled over the land now transforms into clear signs of conflict. Conversations turn sharp, tempers flare faster, and every choice seems to carry a shadow behind it. The sense of something approaching something big, unavoidable, and dangerous becomes impossible to ignore. Everyone has felt pressure before, but this is different. This is the moment where hidden truths begin to surface, as Episode 4's breaking point creeps closer. Small sparks of chaos begin to ignite across the region. A contract that was meant to be signed suddenly falls through without explanation. A landowner who was once confident now refuses to meet with anyone. A deal that looked simple becomes tangled with unexpected complications. These moments don't just cause worry, they create panic. People start making decisions quickly, trying to protect themselves before the full weight of the situation comes crashing down. The energy in the fields changes, vibrating with fear and urgency. Some individuals attempt to regain control, but the more they try to tighten their grip, the faster things slip from their hands. A company representative pushes harder than necessary, demanding cooperation that once came willingly. Instead of building trust, his pressure only sparks anger in the people he needs most. Arguments erupt behind closed doors, voices rising, threats exchanged quietly. Everyone senses that one wrong step could set off a chain reaction. The land has always been valuable, but now it feels like a battlefield, with every person preparing for a fight they never wanted. Meanwhile, secrets that once seemed safely buried start to push their way into the open. A worker who saw something unusual finally shares it with a friend, unaware that this small confession will travel far beyond their conversation. A document hidden in a drawer is discovered by someone who is never meant to see it, and someone who has been lying for weeks begins to lose their composure, their guilt leaking into their words and gestures. These cracks widen quickly, exposing parts of the truth that were meant to stay hidden. And with every revelation, the tension tightens. The emotional stakes reach a peak as relationships crumble under the stress. A landman who tried to stay neutral realizes he can no longer avoid choosing a side. His attempts to mediate fall apart when both parties begin to suspect him of betrayal. He becomes trapped, knowing that any decision he makes will cost him something important. Elsewhere, a family that once stood strong begins to break under pressure. Arguments fill the house, each person blaming the other for choices that none of them fully understood. Hope fades as fear takes over, and the people who once relied on each other now feel isolated. And then the moment comes when everything begins to shift. It doesn't arrive with noise or a dramatic explosion. Instead, it appears quietly, like the first sign of a coming storm. A piece of evidence is uncovered, something undeniable, something powerful enough to change everything. When this truth reaches the right hands, it spreads faster than anyone expects. Shock replaces suspicion, panic replaces doubt. People who thought they had control realize how wrong they were. The land, the deals, the promises, they were all tied to a secret no one was prepared to face. The discovery sends a ripple through the entire region. Phone calls are made urgently, meetings are canceled, and plans collapse. Every person connected to the land feels the shockwave. The betrayal runs deeper than anyone imagined, crossing lines that should never have been crossed. The sense of danger grows, turning into a force that can no longer be ignored. Those who tried to stay out of the conflict are now pulled into it, whether they like it or not. As everything begins to unravel, a final question rises above the chaos, a question that echoes across the fields and into the hearts of everyone affected. Who will survive the fallout of this revelation, and who will be destroyed by it? Episode 4 closes in with a promise of consequences, the kind that cannot be avoided and will change every life touched by this land. The storm is no longer approaching. Kate is here, and no one is ready for what it will bring next.